Joining us now, the new state committeewoman for the Republican National Committee from Virginia, Cynthia Dunbar. Cynthia, great to have you with us.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here.
Okay, so Cynthia pulls this huge upset. Now, Cynthia, you probably don't think it's an upset, but I did. Because, first of all, the convention is in Harrisonburg, which is where the Obenshains live, just right off the bat. It's in Harrisonburg. And secondly, it's a storied family name in Republican politics in Virginia. Plus, they had my endorsement, so how could they lose, right, Cynthia? And they had everything going for them. And here comes Cynthia Dunbar pulling this huge upset off, defeating Suzanne Obenshain, who ran a great race on the second ballot 2 weeks ago in Harrisonburg. And now, Cynthia, you were on my show. You told me you were going to win, so you were right. But I thought you had the odds stacked the other way, and I thought that was a marvelous victory that you were able to pull off at that convention. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I do believe that it is a statement of what's going on nationally. And it's not so much a statement against any particular person or candidate, but just where the American people are. And that was the reason why I was pretty sure that I was going to win, is because my message was resonating. People are tired of politics and anyone they deem politicians, even good politicians. They want the people that are going to come in and shake things up and do what others before them have not been willing to do, the tough things. It's part of the reason why you're supporting Donald Trump, is because you want someone new to come in who's not going to do the same old games. They're going to actually make legitimate changes. And so I do think that that message is resonating nationally and definitely resonating within the Commonwealth.
So how did you cobble together a coalition in order to win? Because I remember there was one email that Suzanne Obenshain put out, and she had like 97,000 elected officials behind her. I think everybody that ever got elected to Virginia in anything, except for Stanley and Stewart, were on that list. So, I mean, that's pretty big to overcome when you have that degree of a machine going the other way. How did you cobble together the 50% plus one coalition in order to overcome that establishment in Hershey?
Well, first of all, before anyone, I do give glory to the Lord. He really was the one who called me into the race at the beginning. I think I even mentioned on your show, I wasn't running because I wanted to run. I wasn't running because I wanted a title. I was really running because when Kathy, the current National Committeewoman, had come to me and asked me to run, I prayed about it, and I felt very convicted that the Lord was telling me it was time to get in. And so I give him all the glory. People keep him out of all the races, and he still weighs in, which is why I'm praying for this presidential race. But then additionally, I did have some elected officials like Senator Dick Black and Senator Stanley. But I do think that part of what is the disconnect is and I'm going to use the term establishment, and I know people don't like it, but what happens is when people get in and they become part of the club of all the elected elite, and they get disconnected with the people and where they are and their dissatisfaction, it becomes part of the problem instead of part of the solution. And so when you start thinking, well, if every single elected official is behind me, surely I'm going to win, you're forgetting who you really work for, and that's the people. And the people have their own voice, and my message was resonating with the grassroots. And so that is where I sent my message. That's where I sent my focus, and that's where I'm going to keep my focus. And that's what I'm going to do in this position, is I'm going to be the voice of the people, and that's who elected officials work for, and I think they forget that, and that's a very, very important message. We need to remember that it's, people derive their authority from the consent of the governed, and so that is, I don't know that it would be called cobbled, but maybe it is. When the people actually rally and come back together, they can be a very, very strong and viable force.
Well, there's no question you were able to do that 2 weeks ago in Harrisonburg. Cynthia, let's get to the upcoming Republican convention in Cleveland. You're going to be going there as the new National Committeewoman from Virginia, and you're also a national delegate that got elected during that convention ostensibly for Cruz, who is now out of the race. How do you see that convention going in Cleveland? I know there's still a movement underfoot by some of the Cruz people. They're sending around a memo asking for some secret meeting to deny Trump the nomination. What's the deal with that?
I have no idea, and having been on the Cruz leadership team, I'm not aware of anything like that, and I would not be part of anything because my whole thing is transparency,
Right.
Unifying, staying on message. What I do think is, and I can only speak, and I know you're connected with the Trump campaign, and Corey Stewart is connected with the Trump campaign, and I spoke to Corey even Saturday at the 5th District Convention because I can tell you one of the things that the press and the media tries to say is there's no way Trump can win. Well, I don't like to listen to the press and the media. Obviously, if they'd been calling my race, they would have said there's no way that I could win. And so I think that we need to stay on message. And part of what they're saying with Trump is, well, he needs a particular demographic. He needs the women and the minorities. Well, that demographic, they're still trying to play towards the independents or the pulling off from some of the liberals. And that is not where he needs to be going. As I've gone around the Commonwealth and I've seen, and I think Virginia is a good litmus test of this because we're a very important state as to how the presidential election is going to go. What he needs is to mobilize the base and the party. And I think if he can stay on message that he is actually going to do the things, one of the things that so resonated in my race, and I think it would resonate in any race, is actually preserving and upholding the Constitution. And any presidential candidate right now would have an easy go at that when you have Obama absolutely and completely disregarding, and the entire executive branch and the DOJ and Loretta Lynch disregarding any of the parameters of the Constitution in terms of checks and balances or even in terms of states' rights and the people's rights. And I would love to see Donald Trump take him on directly on that, not even going after Hillary Clinton, but go directly after Obama for his complete and total disregard for the Constitution and what he's done during his tenure of office. And I think it would go a long way to mobilize the base, which is, I think, where he could build his strength going into the convention to rally support. And I'll share something I'm doing as National Committeewoman towards that end as well. But I don't think that, and maybe the players wouldn't even tell me because they know I'm a straight shooter and I would never go with something that's done in back rooms, smoke-filled rooms to try to circumvent the will of the people. But I can't imagine the RNC actually trying to do something at this point to pull a rabbit out of the hat and pull a different candidate forward at the convention.
Yeah, I think if they did that, it would be chaos, number one, a lot of upset people, number two, and three, I think it would be a disaster for the GOP brand and everything else. Plus, I happen to be one of the people, and I know you are too, I believe that Trump is going to win, and I think he's going to win handily. We're with Cynthia Dunbar. Cynthia is the newly elected Republican National Committeewoman from Virginia. I got a couple more issues I want to go over with you, Cynthia, but I want to give a shout out to your campaign management team that put you over the top. I want to give a shout out to Chris Shores and my good friend Steve Waters. They did a magnificent job, and they told me you were going to win, and they were right. And so I want to give a shout out to Chris Shores and Steve Waters, your campaign management team that I thought did an outstanding job in bringing home your victory. Now, you mentioned that you were at the 5th District Convention on Saturday. Can you share with our audience a little bit about how that went down?
Yes, I've been trying to go around to as many conventions as I can. Unfortunately, a lot of them are scheduled at the same time. And this last Saturday, I was at the 5th District. The 5th District not only had a lot of the normal races as far as who the national delegates were going to be and the state central committee members, which is the state leadership, but it had the convention actually held the nomination for the new Republican candidate to replace Robert Hurt since he's not seeking re-election. And so what I went there not only to just speak to the crowd, but I had promised, and I told you on your show, one of the things that I was going to do is make sure that we have leadership within Virginia that is what the people want and reflecting our values. And so I've actually drafted a resolution that, utilizing my background and understanding of the Constitution, checks and balances, and the problem with executive overreach or judicial legislating, have drafted a resolution that I'm now disseminating to congressional candidates and congressmen within the Commonwealth to say that if these certain things happen that are egregious to the Constitution and constitute a high crime, that they will actually agree and commit to issuing articles of impeachment. And I had gotten all 4 of the candidates at the 5th Congressional District to sign on that resolution, declaring and affirming that they would, in fact, do so. And, of course, the race ended up being very close towards the end. It went, there were, I think, 3 ballots total, and Senator Tom Garrett was successful in his bid to be the Republican nominee, and he had spoken and said that he would absolutely have a signed copy of him signing the resolution. So I'm looking forward to him pushing forward some of these things that the not only the liberals but some of the more moderates in Congress may not be happy with that type of leadership, but I think the people in Virginia are going to be very thrilled with it, and I know for a fact the 5th District will, because when I presented the resolution, it was received with great applause. So I think that it's going to shake things up a little bit in Washington, and that's what we need to do.
We definitely need to shake things up, Cynthia. No question about that. I love the idea of your resolution and trying to hold these people accountable. And as you said, Senator Tom Garrett from Buckingham, now the new Republican congressional nominee, House of Representatives nominee coming out of the 5th District to replace Robert Hurt. Garrett winning that on Saturday, went to 3 ballots. And Tom Garrett, the new nominee, and that'll be decided in November. And he is the favorite to win there. That is a GOP district. Barring something unforeseen, crazy, Garrett is going to be the new congressman in the 5th District on the Republican side, replacing current Congressman Robert Hurt. I got about a minute and a half. Cynthia, we got a couple of conventions coming up this week, mine in the 4th, the 7th, I think the 2nd. You've made a couple of endorsements. You want to very quickly say who those are in these upcoming conventions?
Well, I'm not able to be at the 7th convention because I have my own convention, which is the 6th, and so I will be attending that convention. I did, in the 7th, was very, very active, had a lot of support coming out of the 7th because there was a lot of motivation from Dave Bratt's race and a lot of the grassroots getting involved, and some of those grassroots efforts came from Dewey McDonald of the Culpeper area and Ron Hedlund and Susan Lascolette. And they were very, very active and involved in trying to help get Dave Bratt elected. They've been shown themselves to be active grassroots, work in the trenches, and really enable the people to have a voice. And that's what I'm all about, is making sure that the people have a voice. And so I have supported their ticket. They are running actually as a ticket in the 7th. And so I do have other races coming up where lots of people are asking for my endorsement, but my big thing is, unless I've actually worked and seen some of the efforts that they've done firsthand, I don't want to tell people unless I actually know. But I've seen their efforts, and they are tireless, and they're not looking for any kind of title. They're really looking to change things and make it better for the people, and that's the type of person I think we need to be electing to office.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank newly elected Republican State Committeewoman for the National Committee from Virginia, Cynthia Dunbar. Cynthia, thanks for being with us today. I know you've got a lot of ideas. We're going to have you back over the next several weeks, Cynthia. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your big victory 2 weeks ago Saturday in Harrisonburg. Cynthia, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, John, and I would love your support and help in getting this resolution passed and letting people be aware of it. It needs to start getting
it out, no question.
Okay.
Thank you. This is the John Fredericks Radio Network. I'll be right back.